This is one of the thousands of unregulated, unmonitored mines in the DRC. It's crawling with children, working like modern-day slaves. A 12-hour-long day of punishing work may earn them the equivalent of £1. Although one of the poorest countries on earth, DRC is rich in minerals. But a history of brutal colonial exploitation looks like being repeated now, in 2017. Much of it's mined by hand, with rudimentary tools in harsh, potentially hazardous conditions. And wretched whether or not, the rush is on for a mineral the DRC has in great abundance, cobalt, and it's fast becoming more precious than gold. It's a critical ingredient in lithium-ion batteries which power smartphones and laptops. An army of children are at the heart of the mining production. Wearing no shoes and in the most wretched conditions, Dorsan is ordered to retrieve the sack he's forgotten. There's an urgency now. The rains make this dangerous work even more risky, and Dorsan's told in no uncertain terms he risks a beating if he messes up again. Dorsan, with Richard beside him, have worked all day. They're 8 and 11 years old. Even this punishing work doesn't guarantee enough for food. Dorsan hasn't eaten for 2 days now. This is what helpless looks like, and he's one of the children making millions for multinational corporations in America and China whilst they suffer in squalor. For this, they'll get maybe 8 British pence a day. The tunnels are dug by hand with no supports. They frequently collapse, especially during rain. The miners climb down using holes carved in the rock and no safety equipment. This most precious of minerals is often extracted and sorted by tiny hands. They don't wear gloves or masks, yet the World Health Organization says exposure to cobalt and breathing in its dust fumes can cause long-term health problems. We visited 5 different mines across the south of DRC and found all used child workers. Monica's the youngest worker in this group at just 4. But even those barely able to walk have lost their childhoods to mining. Natalie's 12 years old. My fingers hurt, she tells us. Miles away on a different site, Makumba Mateba shows us the cobalt tunnel he's dug with 3 of his friends. It's physically tough work. They removed all this rock by hand over nearly 4 months.
It's incredibly insecure for them. Although this is really rich in minerals and it's going down just 15 metres, there's no support bars, they have no protective masks or protective equipment at all. And right at the bottom I can see water.
It's his village's water which Makumba's convinced has caused his health problems. After a lifetime of drinking it, he has a huge tumour on his throat.
Quand on est en train de travailler à Kitowe, là on cultive les tomates, en train de cultiver, si j'ai soif, je pars puiser de l'eau.
There are countless reports of other health problems from those living nearby and working on the mines.
On trouve les infections, minimum infection, je retourne à Onako. Kasi mama anatumika makariere sana, tazala mtoto na mainfection shulungula, mwingine kuna bima buton, mwingine ndio tunaona donc makozi linatoka mama mimba nenda makariere.
These twins are just 2 days old, and although small, so far they're healthy, to the relief of their mother.
Oi, minerais, unaleta maproblem kama wewe mwanamke unaenda kutumika hapo. Inaleta maproblem, difficulty kama una mimba. Shiba namke ni mama yangu kunetupeleka kukwesa mama yangu kunetupeleka tunaenda kutumika.
But even if they stay healthy, the twins face a lifetime of hard labour as soon as they can walk. The children's cobalt is sold cheaply to mostly Chinese traders who we film secretly. They don't ask questions about where their cobalt comes from or who's worked to extract it. They just want the best price.
The black part is cobalt.
Even those who aren't Chinese, this trading market has Indian owners, told us they sell onto the dominant Chinese exporter of cobalt, CDM. The cobalt first mined here is then sold again to the Chinese parent company, which then supplies some of the world's biggest battery makers. And those batteries, with ingredients which originated in DRC, end up in, for instance, smartphones. It's an intricate supply chain which allows easy deniability for the multinationals making huge profits. An investigation last year by Amnesty found similar human rights abuses. Nothing appears to have changed. Most of these child miners will never own a smartphone. They barely survive from day to day. And many other children like Dorsan will be back again tomorrow, digging out one of the most sought-after minerals of our time for a pittance. Alex Crawford, Sky News in the DRC. Children mining. The Democratic Republic of Congo is rich in minerals, but most are poor here, and the young are working everywhere. It's often the only way to survive. We're searching for two little boys we last saw months ago. It takes us 6 hours retracing our steps from the mining capital of Lubumbashi, mostly on unmade roads, into the heart of the former Katanga province. This is rough territory, and we complete the remaining 3 kilometres on foot.
Jumbo.
Jumbo.
We're heading for a remote nomadic mining community hidden in the bush where we first spotted Dorsan and Richard. Then little Dorsan, at just 8 years old, was struggling in atrocious conditions to help with the cobalt mining. He and his friend Richard, standing next to him and just a few years older, worked all day for a pittance, often not enough for either of them to buy food. Dorsan was the image of misery. Both had little hope for the future.
Walitusukuma tunaenda tena tunarudia. Mimi nashikia sana mkongo inauma. Mimi natumika. Mkongo nilimaka na mbavu. Nalikula tunapita kile nyuma. Kama kapani wanakaa mkasha asipatake makuta ninalala na njala.
When we finally reach their village, it doesn't take long to track down both boys.
Jumbo Dorsan. Jumbo Richard.
Dorsan's father's been digging new tunnels, but he's found no cobalt for days, so the two haven't eaten.
Il faut tuko obligé paka tupate. Kama tunaanza kupata juu ya kusponsorize huyu na ya fundi. Sasa atuyabalo kupata makuta. Bo banezi kutukondane ke aba toto abafunde juu ya nini? Parce que ile makuta ishi tukulapata aitu sifir.
Dorsan's father Yasant and his partner have already dug 6 meters into the ground. They have no protective equipment and few tools, just a couple of shovels. And they're doing this knowing their previous 3 tunnels have collapsed. But hunger is a powerful motivator. Dorsan's not allowed in the tunnel, it's too dangerous, but he and Richard help out on the surface, emptying the bags of soil almost as big as themselves, so the sacks can be filled again. There's a chance the boys can be educated.
Jean Bosco?
And Jean Bosco is the key. His organisation's offering to sponsor Dorsan and Richard at a boarding school more than 100 miles away in Lubumbashi. But the boys' fathers have to agree. Their decisions are immediate. They want the boys to be given a chance. It's Dorsan's first trip outside his village, so his father gives him a wash. With no water source close by, this is a very rare experience.
Kumbane. So wazasema mimi nitakufa au nini? Ni kwa
Dorsan has never known anything but working on the mines. He's never known water to come out of a tap and never experienced electricity. This has been his home since he was 1 year old. He's saying goodbye to everything and everyone he's ever known. The two boys now face a very different future to those they leave behind, and they wave excitedly to their friends. They're accompanied by Richard's father, who'll check out the new school. Dorsan's father has work to do tunnelling. By the time we reach Lubumbashi, it's night time. It's an unrecognisable new world for the boys, with streets packed with traders and buyers. Waiting to greet them at the house where they'll stay for the next few months are their fellow students, a mixture of orphans and street children with no homes. The boys are shown round. This is run by the Kimbilio charity, which means Children's Sanctuary in Swahili. There's no electricity, but there are bathrooms, a proper roof, and for the first time, the boys will sleep on mattresses.
I
feel happy to be here.
What does it feel like being on a proper bed?
I feel very good because at my home I never sleep to the place like this.
Next morning, the boys have had a haircut and been given new clothes, and there's another first, breakfast, of baguette and tea. From now on, they'll have 3 meals a day. Then it's into a classroom. They're getting a crash course in reading and writing, with more personal tutoring here before joining the local school. But for those more used to manual work, it takes a lot of concentration. The Kimbilio workers chat to Dorsan to learn about his daily life on the cobalt mine.
Kama banapandisha bantu mantapayulu tuanza kubakukutia tu na bamwangia bantu bacha makuta tunaenda tena tunapika kama atupate tena kazi abate atutapata makuta sikile siku tutalala na njala.
Usholala kuna njala combien de fois depuis maisha yako? Mala mingi.
The two boys are given their school uniforms. They have a chance to turn their lives round. Dorsan has never even owned a pair of shoes before. The bags on their backs will now be filled with school books rather than soil or minerals. But they leave behind countless other children still being exploited. Alex Crawford, Sky News in the Democratic Republic of Congo.